various dimensions of our Sampradaya.
Yes, indeed. Adiyan is curious to know how women are perceived in our Sampradaya, and their role in upholding it. Adiyan would like to learn more.
Interesting. We may find answers to these in the evening's first Upanyasan by Smt.Prabha Senesh on the role and importance of women. Let's now welcome Smt.Prabha Senesh.
Adiyan, am I audible?
Yes, Adiyan.
Yes, Adiyan.
Jai Jai Shri Sudarshana. Karunakara Surindra Guruvarya Padambujam Navanita Natottamsam Guru Pankti Shriyannumaha. Very, very glad to be a part of this satsangam today. It is a wonderful moment here to be a part of this inaugural global Sangoshtee. As Partha Swami just said, it's like a new baby born. And a new baby born spreads happiness everywhere and in everyone's mind. So, on this happy occasion, Adiyan take this opportunity to present a small talk on the role and importance of women in Sampradayam. We all know this famous quote, Yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devataha. The pleasing residence of the devatas, where women are respected. In fact, the very basis on which today's society progresses is the woman, we can say. And this has been portrayed at its best through our Sanatana Dharma. Manusmriti talks about respecting women for everyone's welfare. If a family desires that it should be well in all ways, if it desires its well-being across generations, then it must learn to respect women. Matrabhi pitrabhis chaitaha patibir devarais tatha pujya bhushayitavyascha bahukalyanam ipsubhi. This quote has been taken by Swami Deshikal too in his Rahasya. Women must be honored and adored by their mothers, fathers, brothers, husbands, brothers-in-law if they desire their welfare. That's the meaning of this verse. So Sanatana Dharmam has held women in high esteem. And when there is esteem given to a person, it also comes with a lot of responsibility. So women have their own roles to play. And the woman as such is a born multitasker, having many abilities which she can play effectively in many spheres. So in Sampradayam, what are the roles that are played by women? And who are those exemplary women who have shown us such roles? Today's talk is going to cover a few important roles played by a few important women. So we are going to take up 5 important roles played by women. As we all know, we women are born as daughters, and then we grow up as sisters, friends, companions, wives, mothers, and then we are also devotees and disciples. So today we shall see how a woman can be a dutiful daughter, a brilliant better half, a courageous companion, a motivating mother, and a devoted disciple. So the first role model that we all must look up to is Shri Andal. Now each role model would be a role model for that age group is what we need to understand. So Andal here is being spoken about as a daughter. So my dear young friends, my dear young budding Sri Vaishnava girls who are looking at this presentation, please pay attention in detail. This is for you all. So, we all know that Andal was the daughter of Periyalvar. And what is Andal famous for? She is famous for garlanding herself before she gave the garland to Krishna. And this she did because she was very fond of Krishna and ultimately she wanted to get wedded to Krishna. How did she go about doing this? Andal went and told her father what she felt like. She confided in her father about her feelings for the Lord and she asked him, what is the right way for me to fulfill my desire? And her father gave her the necessary guidance, and ultimately it is said in Guru Parampara that he even arranged for a Swayamvara of all the Archamurtis, and ultimately Andal selected Ranganatha and got her desire fulfilled. Through this process, Andal was always confident that her father would take care of everything for her. She calls out to a friend in a pasuram of the Nachyar Tirumozhi and says, Nallayan Thodi Naganai Misai Nambarar Selvar Periyar Sirumanidavar Nam Seivadin Villi Puduvai Vittisittar Tangal Devarai Palla Parisi Varivipparel Adu Kandume. See, my dear friend, Thodi, I do not have any ability. I am an akinchana. I don't know what to do. But I know that my father, Villi Puduvai Vittisittar, will present me with that Lord who is reclining on the Sesha. So he will come and fulfill my desire. So through this episode, what does Andal teach us? Andal gives us a moral that we need to respect and trust our parents. As children, we may have many desires. Whatever desire we have, it is good to communicate that to our parents. If the desire is a righteous one, if we want something that is rightful, that is good to have, our parents will definitely ensure that we get it in the best possible way. In case our desire is not righteous, if it is not good for us, then they will guide us to the right decision and they'll tell us how we have not been right in choosing what we have. So it's very important as daughters to be respecting and trusting our parents as Andal did to her father Periyalvar. So that was the beautiful daughter Sri Andal. The next role model that we are looking at is the brilliant better half. Better half refers to the wife. So here we are going to discuss a very famous wife, Kumudavalli Nachyar, the wife of Thirumangai Alvar. Well, we all know the story of Kumudavalli Nachyar and Thirumangai Alvar, right? Kumudavalli Nachyar was actually an Apsara and she emerged out of a pond in the Kshetram of Thiruvellakulam. It is said that at those times, Thirumangai Alvar, who was initially known as Neelan, was a chieftain of the Chola kingdom and he was in charge of the kingdom of Thirumangai. He happened to see this Kumudavalli who was very beautiful and he wanted to get married to her. When he went and proposed to Kumudavalli, she said that she had a condition which on being fulfilled, she would accept his hand in marriage. Well, the condition was that this Neelan had to perform Bhagavata Tadiyaradhana for a period of a whole year. Bhagavata Tadiyaradhana is feeding the devotees of Lord Vishnu. That he had to do for a period of a whole year. This condition was accepted by Neelan only because he wanted to get married to Kumudavalli at that point of time. But once he began doing the Kainkaryam of Bhagavata Tadiyaradhana, once he started serving the devotees of the Lord, devotion crept into his mind and ultimately this Neelan became Thirumangai Alvar. So this change got effected because of the brilliance of the better half of Thirumangai Alvar, that is Kumudavalli Nachyar. At this juncture, Adiyan would like to quote something that Adiyan's revered Acharya and father-in-law often says. Shri Karunakara Mahadeshikan Swami often says that young women have the power to change their husbands or their husbands to be, for that matter. He would say that if a young woman would go and tell her partner that you would look handsome if you wear a kudumi, if you sport a tuft of hair called the kudumi, which is a sign of Sampradaya following, he would happily do it. And him having done that would ultimately put him into the path of Sampradayam with much more conviction. And Adiyan have seen it happening to many people too. So this message is for the young women of today. See to it that you have interest in Sampradayam, and if you do, see to it that you communicate that to your partner or partner to be. So the moral that the brilliant better half gives us is to inculcate virtuous practices in the partner. So that was the second role model. The next that we're going to look at is the courageous companion. Here too, Adiyan is taking the example of a wife. There it was a young wife. Here it is a seasoned wife, we can say. Well, this is the wife of Kuratalvan, and she too was known as Andal. Kuratalvan was the dear disciple of Swami Ramanuja. It is said that Kuratalvan hailed from a very wealthy family. He was very wealthy and very generous too. He was so generous that he would perform Bhagavata Tadiya Aradhana throughout the day, and the doors of his mansion would close beyond midnight. Such was his generosity in feeding people, and so much wealth he had to do that too. His wife Andal also hailed from an equally wealthy family. It so happened that Kuratalvan became the disciple of Swami Ramanuja when he was at Kanchipuram, and for various reasons Swami Ramanuja shifted to Srirangam. At that time, Kuratalvan had not accompanied him, but soon after he felt that he must go where his Acharya has gone. So he decided to shift to Srirangam. Now here we need to understand that shifting doesn't mean that he packed all his belongings, put them into a truck and went to Srirangam. He didn't do that. He decided that he need to have no belongings of the mundane now. He decided to donate all his wealth and just shift his focus from Laukika duties to Acharya Kainkaryam. And so he gave up everything and started for Srirangam. Before giving up, of course, he had to ask the opinion of his wife, which was in his favor. Anybody in the place of Andal would have thought a bit before giving up so much of wealth and comfort. But Andal did not think for one moment. She said, fine, Swami, let us go for Acharya Kainkaryam, and she accompanied him. They were walking through a thick forest on the journey, and suddenly it was pitch dark, and Andal told her husband that she was feeling scared. Kuratalvan told her, what is the fear about? If there is fear, it is the fear of losing something. Generally, fear comes when we have to lose something. So when you do not have anything to lose, when you don't have any possession to lose, then where does the fear come from? What are you scared of losing? To that, Andal replied that, Swami, I just have one possession with myself. And she showed him a golden marakkal. Now, marakkal is a symbol of auspiciousness that every bride has when she comes as a newlywed to the family. And so Andal thought that though they were giving up everything, she must hold on to this marakkal because it was a sign of auspiciousness. Incidentally, her marakkal was not a marakkal. Marakkal refers to wooden cup, wooden measure, but hers was not made of wood, it was made of gold. So wealthy they were. So she had a golden cup in hand. So she told her husband that I have this with me. So probably this is what is causing the fear. Kuratalvan turned to her, took that Tanga Marakkal and threw it away in the forest and said, there goes your fear. To this, Andal laughed heartily, it seems. So when the husband made a decision to give up everything, including the emotions that she had for something, she was happy to support him. So this is the ideal wife who supports the husband through thick and thin. Now, here in this case, Andal showed the courage of being a compatible wife when they were in distress. It is also important that not only at the times of distress or challenges that a wife supports the husband, but through his everyday activities, it is very important that she stands by him as a companion. That is when Sampradayam will survive. Because every anushtanam of a man, of a husband, of a grihastha is in a way dependent on his wife. He needs to perform upasana for which his wife has to be around. Now, this may not be relevant in today's context because nobody does upasana every day. But then we try to do what is known as the yaga of every day that we are supposed to do. That is Bhagavat Aradhanam. We do some kind of sacrament to the Lord at home so that he is prayed to. And as Sampradayam tells us, it is Tiruvaradhanam of the Lord that needs to be done every day. And doing the Tiruvaradhanam is not possible for a grihastha effectively without his wife. Because for doing Tiruvaradhanam, getting things ready for Tiruvaradhanam, like cleaning the place, washing the vessels, cooking food for the Tiruvaradhanam, lighting the lamp, making rangoli, and all are very between the way a lady does this job and a man does. And I'm sure everybody will agree with me on this. And this support given by the lady actually helps him practice and get interested in Sampradayam all the more. Not just this, while practicing various vratas like the Ekadashi vrata, or if one has to do some Pitra Kainkaryam, or one has to observe Amavasai or Masapirappu, where different kinds of menus need to be prepared, the lady in the house has to support and be adept at performing. The Andal gives us is to be a compatible companion. So now we've seen 3 role models. The 4th role model is that of a motivating mother. And the example that Adiyan is taking today is that of Vinata Devi, that is Garuda's mother. When Garuda went to procure Amritam from Swargaloka, Vinata Devi gave him a beautiful piece of blessing. Swami Deshikan summarizes this in his Garuda Panchashar. Samvichastram dishantya saha vijaya chamuhu asishaf preshayantya sambadnantya tanutram sucharitam, he says. So, this verse essentially means that a person who goes for fighting wears an armor and has weapons with him. So the weapons or the army that Vinata Devi sent with Garuda was the Ashirvada of Jaya Vijayi Bhava. May you be victorious. There cannot be a better blessing than this given by a mother, that the child should be victorious and successful in whatever he does. And even better than that was the armor that Vinata Devi presented. Sambadnantya tanutram sucharitam, she says. I'm giving you the armor of good character, said the mother. It's very, very important for one to have a good character. Now, what is the meaning of having a good character? Having a good character means practicing nalvazhakam, dharmam and sadacharam. This is the definition of character in Sampradaya. We need to have good practices, moral practices, which actually improvise our lives. As Partha Swami just said in his inaugural speech, Sampradayam will improve the value, or it will improvise the way we live our daily life. Small practices like uttering Hari on getting up, or uttering Govinda while eating, uttering Pundarikaksha while bathing, or just being respectful and polite while talking to each other. They are all habits which Sampradayam give us, and Sampradayam can actually make us very, very successful individuals having wonderful public relations and also successful careers. So, good character is built by the mother who reinforces the practices of Sampradayam in her child, just the way Vinata Devi did to Garuda. Vinata Devi told Garuda that I'm giving you an armor of character. Adiyan is interpreting it here as the character of Sampradayam. In fact, this Ashirvadam of Vinata Devi was also quoted by Kaushalya when Sri Rama went to the forest. Yanmangalam Suparnasya Vinata Kalpayat Pura, says Valmiki Bhagavan. So, the protection given by a mother, the teachings given by a mother to a child will make him adept at following Sampradayam, and that will help Sampradayam thrive across generations. So, this motivating mother gives us the moral that a mother should always provide positive counseling to the child regarding Sampradayam. It's very important to inculcate what is called as ruchi in Sampradayam, the interest, the liking for Sampradayam. So if we like something, then we'll never give up doing that. So it is our duty to inculcate this liking for Sampradayam in children as mothers. So that was the fourth role model. The fifth role model is that of a devoted disciple, and the example that Adiyan is taking here is that of Kongil Pirati, who was a disciple of Swami Ramanuja. Kongil Pirati belonged to Kongadesham, and she happened to migrate to Srirangam for a short while when they had a famine in their land. And it so happened that she chanced to become a disciple of Ramanuja at that point of time. And the Upadesham that Swami Ramanuja gave Kongil Pirati was a very simple one. He said that whatever you cook and eat, you need to offer to the Lord, and you have to be devoted to the Acharya. And on her request, he also gave padukas, his padukas to Kongil Pirati. So it was a practice of Kongil Pirati to always offer food to their Saligrama Murti and then to the padukas of Ramanuja, and then only partake the food. After a short while of the visit to Srirangam, or her stay at Srirangam, she went back to Konganadu when the famine in the land was over. And she stayed there for many, many years. But this little advice of Swami Ramanuja, she followed to the letter every day. There was no day that she would partake food or she would give food to anybody in her house without offering them to the Lord and her Acharya Padukas. This was discovered by the disciples of Ramanuja when they happened to pass via Konganadu, when Ramanuja was migrating from Srirangam to Melkote during invasion by the Chola king. So, through this example of Kongil Pirati, what we understand, or what we need to understand, is that the advice given to us by Acharyas need to be followed very, very strictly. They're all simple advices given by Acharyas. I'm sure that every one of us who have received Samashrayanam from the Acharya would have got this piece of lesson from him, that we need to recite the Acharya Taniyan every day and also need to perform what is known as Japam every day. Now, these all form a part of Swanushtanam, that is our own Anushtanam, something that we practice for ourselves. Besides playing various roles of being the wife, being the mother, being the friend, being the comrade, etc., we have our own things to do. We have to look after our own welfare. That's what people say today, right? That we have to look after ourselves. Before people have said it today, our Sampradayam has told it very effectively to us. Do your Swanushtanam first. Before doing anything for Bhagavat Tiruvaradhanam, it is very important for a Grihini to follow certain rituals for herself, certain practices which will help her cleanse herself in the mind and body and feel better. So little things like doing Achamanam, doing Japam, etc. will empower us with so much of positivity that we can pass it down to everybody around us. So that kind of practice, Swanushtanam, we need to follow as our Acharya has given us, thus being devoted disciples. So the moral that this devoted disciple, Kongil Pirati, gives us is that we need to have unflinching faith in our Acharya and follow what he has told us. So those were the 5 important role models that we looked at. The dutiful daughter, Sri Andal, the brilliant better half, Kumudavalli Nachyar, the courageous companion, Kurat Andal, the motivating mother, Vinata Devi, and the devoted disciple, Kongil Pirati. At this juncture, Adiyan would definitely want to make a mention of the inspirational women of today and Adiyan's personal inspirations. Adiyan's mother and mother-in-law, as they can be seen here, they are women who are dutiful daughters, brilliant better halves, courageous companions, motivational mothers, and devoted disciples. And they have made such a difference to everybody around them and to Sampradayam mainly. In fact, many women in the family deserve this kind of praise and respect. So Adiyan have just compiled the women of our family here who are all inspirations of Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam today. Dhanyasmi would take up any Q&A if it is there. Kavitarkika Samhaya Kalyan Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha.